Hello and welcome to Talk to Talk with the Shefu, your go-to podcast for transformative career advice and personal growth. I am your host, the Shefu, bringing you real talk, conversations that empowers ambitious professionals across Nigeria, Africa, and beyond. Whether you're a fresh graduate or a digital creative hustling in Lagos, or you're also a mid-career pro navigating the competitive job market. We know the struggle is real, especially with tech barriers like applicant tracking systems, popularly known as the ATS, standing in your way. In today's episode, we're diving deep into Beat the ATS in 2026, ultimate resume optimization, job hunting strategies, and CV tips to land your dream job in Nigeria and Africa here, joined by top recruitment experts who will unpack ATS secrets, keyword strategies, and networking hacks to get your resume seen by humans, not just machines. If you're searching for ATS-friendly resume tips, job search optimization, or career growth strategies, this is your episode. Let's get inspired and take action. Let's talk the talk.
Great. I'm excited to welcome our guest, Satoshi, and I would like to Mr. Satoshi to introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you so very much, and thank you for having me on the show. My name is Tochukwu Emeka Ome. I am currently the Learning and Development Trainer for International Committee of the Red Cross based in Abuja and covering the entire delegation Learning and Development program across the country, working closely with my regional colleagues at Nairobi and other people within the country. I am also a graduate of business administration in both master's and degree level. Finished my master's with American University of Nigeria in 2023. And I'm currently also a renowned HR professional and based in Abuja. I am an associate of Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, that is CIPM, Nigeria. And I am also privileged to be serving as one of the executive members of the CIPM Abuja branch. I think suffice to say, I am one person who loves to have youths in Nigeria grow from where they are to what they should be. I love to see youths become better and become who they should be. So I am a passionate advocate of capacity development, especially for youths in Nigeria and other African countries. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. We just jump right into it. So let's talk the talk. First, I'm going to ask the first question, which is the gatekeeper concept. In the fast-paced 2026 job market, it's not just about connections like we know it is before. It's about outsmarting AI gatekeepers, right? So for our audience who are young professionals in Nigeria and across Africa, can you break down how the ATS acts as the ultimate filter in recruitment and why understanding it is key to resume optimization and job hunting?
Thank you very much for that question. Indeed, that is a very important question for every youth to be aware. Of course, it is no longer news that we are in the world of AI. And just the same way every youth in Nigeria is AI crazy, organizations are also increasingly adopting AI to make work easier for them. Now, before we talk about the gatekeeper concept, it's first to understand what is the ATS, because it's just an acronym, which not everybody, I want to presume, knows what it means. So ATS is simply an acronym for Applicant Tracking System. What it means is that before you get through to get the job that you want to get, you believe you are qualified for, there is a process of getting this job. And one of the process is mostly a platform where you put in your details, upload your curriculum vitae and other information about you so that the company you are applying for can see it and analyze if you are a good fit. And that is where the ATS comes in. So basically the ATS is an application or a tool deployed by organization to help them filter through job applications and bring out for them the applications that stand out, that matches more of what they are looking for. Now, imagine that typically in every Nigerian context, for almost every job advertised, irrespective of the range of salary to be paid for that job, there is at least 100 people applying for that role. It takes a lot of time for the human resource practitioner to sieve these applications one by one and bring out what they really need from it. And that is where they deploy ATS. The research has shown that almost all the big organizations or companies that you want to work for in the world, not just in Nigeria, somehow has deployed ATS to some extent. The report has it that about 98% of the Fortune 500 companies have deployed ATS. So that means for you to understand and get the job you are desiring or you are qualified for, you must first understand the hurdle you must pass through at first. And that is the concept of the gatekeeper which is the ATS, because that is the first thing you must approach before anybody in the organization gets to see your CV to determine whether you are qualified or not. So that ATS is basically the tool that filters your application as well as many others, looking through it to understand what you have in relation to the job advertised before now recommending some profiles to the recruiter who will now physically look at it and be able to choose maybe who to invite for an interview. And why is this necessary for us to dwell on and explain for you to understand? It is necessary because if you don't understand it, you will oftentimes find yourself applying subsequently for jobs over and over from months to years and maybe many years to come without getting the job you rightly qualify for, simply because you did not understand how to use or how to position yourself to avoid or to scale through that first gatekeeper, which is the ATS. Thank you.
Yeah, right. That's really something that I can relate to. I see lots of people saying, "Oh, I've been applying for jobs and no feedback." Sometimes to just go silent application. You see, response will be when you're applying. They say the response time frame would be maybe a week or 2 or even 3 days or 4 days, but then you don't hear anything. I guess that's the ATS saying you didn't scale through to the next level.
Absolutely.
So, okay, yeah. So now moving away from the gatekeeper concept, right? The formatting trap. Our digital creatives love crafting visually stunning CVs to stand out, but they often get lost in the ATS backhoe. From a tech perspective, why do graphic heavy resume fails ATS can? And what does a truly machine readable ATS friendly resume look like to boost your job search visibility?
Thank you. I think that is a very important question in this discourse. Basically, we see people these days trying to push their CV in such a way that it is indeed attractive. And we begin to see people use things like pictures, graphs, bar to show how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how you are skilled in a particular skill level, or proficiency in one skill or language. They present it graphically, well, adorable, beautiful in the eye. Use of tables, use of graphics, because majorly people want to compress everything on one page, which is also admirable for your CV to be as concise as possible. But now being creative by using graphs, tables, images, and the likes. Unfortunately, it's one of the reasons why your CV ends up in the black hole. And the ATS black hole basically is just that place where every other CVs gets dumped. Now let's understand the logic on how ATS works. When every time you see a job that you are applying for and it gives you like a link and say, click here to apply, and then you click, it opens up another database for you to enter your name, your detail, upload your CV and all that. Basically, most likely that system has already deployed an ATS. So that's for you to know. If it just simply says send your CV via an email to somewhere, then you can use those creative CVs if you have them and you want to use them. But if you have to apply through a platform, then most likely you are going to encounter the ATS. Now, what does it look for? ATS basically looks through your CV and uses what they call parsing. By parsing here, it simply means it tries to extract the text from your CV, categorize them, analyze them, and put them in different categories in relation to the job adverts. So where you use graphics and images and graphs and tables on your CV, it becomes increasingly difficult for the ATS to pick out the words, the text in them, because ATS is structured to read text, not images, not graphs, not other kinds of creative setups. So the creative part is good for the human eye, but not necessarily good for the ATS tool. So you must understand how the ATS works so that you can bypass it and get your CV to the right person that needs to see it. So it looks for text. And if you use those graphs and those keywords and those images, it's not possible for ATS to read it. And that means your CV will be categorized as one of those that did not meet the criteria, even though you meet or perhaps even exceed it. So the summary for me would be ensure to refine and package your CV for the recruiter who will see it face to face. Nevertheless, know that you have to first and foremost pass through the ATS. So you must make your CV to be ATS compliant, but then also as creative and graphically interesting for the recruiter to be attracted to it. Thank you.
In mentioning that now, I realized when I started applying for jobs in GB after school, some people brought out formats of CV. Maybe when you go for training, some kind of training, and then they tell you this is how to do it. There are some that actually come with a template, or they give you templates of the place where you have to add your, what's it called, picture at the top, using a blue something by just the design, just like you said. And I've seen a lot of that going around on social media. Some even use it, like they post it on their LinkedIn. If you want to get this job, use this template. And a lot of people would use this template and never get to hear back from the recruiter. Also, let me just ask this question. So, from what you've explained, right? If you are given a link to go and apply for a job, and then you click on that link, it's possible that the employer has deployed the ATS system in, right? So would you say that this, to really be sure that it's an ATS system, those layers of questions that are being asked, there are some jobs you apply for, and then you have layers of questions you need to answer before you even upload your CV to the site. Is that really necessary? Does the ATS also use that steps, the answers you give into what's it called, the questions that are sent? Do they also look at that and then decide, okay, before they look into the CV, this person is going straight to the ATS black hole? Or I just want an explanation.
Thank you.
To that regard.
That is indeed a very brilliant question. Now picture it this way. First thing, let me just put a caveat that not every link leads to an ATS enabled system. Sometimes there are people who advertise for jobs and they use links for like Google form links and all that for you to put your data and still upload your CV. So those ones, of course, you can see that they're just using another software or another tool to make it easier for them to gather data and all that. They sieve it manually because they will download it like an Excel sheet and then they filter it manually. So those ones are different. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the ones that when you click, it opens like the website of a particular company, and then you will see the details, on your computer. You feel it. It's not like a Google form link kind of link I'm talking about. Now, also, where you fill those data, they are also important because they are all part of what the ATS analyzes if the system is ATS enabled. So they are also part of what the ATS analyzes. And it depends. I cannot be able to say this is the one that happens first, but it depends on the system, how it is good and what is important to the recruiter at the time. It is possible that they will first and foremost pass through the ATS and only get the ones that the ATS recommend and use the questions, the responses we've provided for the questions to filter downward. Maybe the ATS recommends about 20 people and they need just 5. They will now be able to filter using the questions you've responded, to filter the applications further to streamline it down to maybe the number that they think is reasonable to engage in the process. So it can go either this way or that way, it depends. But what is more important, I always will tell people that, like you mentioned earlier about which CV template is the best template to use. I don't agree that there is any best template anywhere. What matters most is to pay attention to the job description. The best CV template is the one that responds 100% or as much as possible to the job description. Now, I always tell people that consider the job description as the question paper. Consider your CV as the answer script. For many of us who may have been, gone through the school system, you've done maybe several courses, English 101 and English 102. You cannot take the answer script of English 101 and submit in English 102 and expect to pass. You will fail. So that means you cannot use a generic CV template that somebody used because it got him an international job, does not mean it will equally get you an international job. So pay attention to the job description. Some job descriptions come clearly stating the kind of things they want to see on your CV. If they request to see pictures, then put it. If not, don't put it. If they request to see certain things, some of them even give you a template to use to prepare your CV and submit to them. That is the only template their ATS accepts. So they give you the template ahead of time, you download it, fill it, and upload it back to the system. So it depends. Pay attention and read the job description line by line to find how to prepare your CV that will make it work. But what is more important is making sure that your CV is structured in such a way that it is not problematic for the ATS to pick the text from it, and also it is not chaotic for the HR recruiter at the end of the line. If you pass through the ATS, that the HR recruiter will struggle to even make a sense. It should be well detailed and well packaged and be relevant for both the ATS and the recruiter. Thank you.
Okay, that's really clarifying. I'm understanding some things that I've actually asked in my head, like, okay, what does this mean? How do I scale through this with these questions that are asked before the main CV upload comes up? So let's move to keywords and authenticity, right? Keyword optimization is a buzzword in career advice, but how do you weave in those essential SEO-like terms without turning your CV into a robotic list? Can you help us share tips on balancing authenticity with strategic alignment to make our career, or those who are listening, their career story shine through ATS filter?
Thank you very much. I think there's been a whole lot of buzzword about optimizing your CV for the job. And we see people coming down to, okay, because I know there's going to be an ATS and ATS is looking for certain words, then you just put the words everywhere on your CV. Sometimes it shows the kind of professional you claim to be. So it is not enough that you put the keywords on your CV because you want to the system to match the SEO and be able to project you as highly relevant for the role. It is not enough. What makes sense is ensuring that you frame it within contextual reality. So it is not just talking about keywords. By the way, keywords is majorly, when we talk about keywords, we're talking about what's the word now? We're talking about the language of the job description. So in other words, keywords here, we are making reference to what are those things that the organization say they need. If they say they need somebody that can jump high, that can clap, that can dance, that can demonstrate very well, now those are the things they want to see on your CV. The mistake many professionals make without noticing is putting these words here and there in a way that it doesn't make sense. Instead of just capturing the words or just listing it, core skills and responsibility, then you begin to list all those keywords. That's when it gets to the CV, to the recruiter, they can always see that this is not real, this is fake. So you need to instead rephrase your keywords in a way that demonstrates your capability. So instead of putting things like great communicator, what do you call now, proficient in XYZ, rather put it in contextual reality that projects you as a capable professional. For example, I was able to lead a team of 5 to deliver XYZ project within XYZ timeline, and we were able to deliver this impact. So use the keyword in such a way that it creates or paints your professionalism, your capability, and shows your strength. So that way, it is relevant for both the ATS because the keywords are in the sentence, and it is also relevant for the HR recruiter when they get to see it because it makes sense. It shows you are capable, it shows the impact you've created, and when you're doing this, please be careful. Don't blow your trumpet beyond what is real because the HR recruiters can sniff it when you are lying. Oftentimes, when people claim to have done what they did not really do realistically, and you ask them follow-up questions, you realize that they float. They don't have substance, and they can pick out from there. So you need to first and foremost reflect, take the job description and look through it, understand the keywords that are in that job description, look through your own personal experience and the jobs you've done in the past, and see how you can, integrate those keywords to project your strength, your capability, your proficiency in any way. But please avoid placing the words here and there on your CV such a way that it makes it look as if you don't know what you're doing or you are indeed lying. So I think the keyword would be balance. Balance the use of the keyword, but more importantly, use it in a way that helps showcase your professionalism and your capability as a professional. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Before I go to the next question, I have this question. Something just popped into my head and there are jobs that people see and a lot of people have complained about it. We hear youths talking about a job that they feel they can do, but the job description and the requirements for the job is that you have to have a certain years of experience. But it's something that you can do. You trust your gut that you can deliver, but the experience gap is just so much. Some people feel discouraged that, okay, I'm not going to apply. What would you advise as a professional? Should one apply even if the years of experience is an issue for them?
Thank you. I think indeed this is a very important question for us to focus on. Now, it is neither a yes nor no. It depends. First thing first is you need to look at the years of experience in terms of categories. I would like to categorize them basically to entry level, experienced level, or intermediate level, and experienced level. It does not make sense when people put certain years of experience. It's not just because you can do the job or cannot do the job. Beyond the deliverables or the activities you might likely see on the JD are certain levels of maturity and exposure that is needed to fill in the gap. For example, anybody can be a leader, but not anybody can lead Nigeria. So it is not enough to say, oh, I see what the president does. He just sit down in the office, he has aides, and they are helping him, brief him on anything, and then he will just sign, and then he travels to one country to have a meeting. Yeah, everybody can sit down, sign, and travel to have a meeting. But it takes a level of exposure in your mind to be able to sit in that capacity and handle the pressure that comes with that responsibility. And that is why HR professionals who design jobs properly look at the responsibilities of that job, not just because of the deliverables as you may see on the JD, but because of the levels of interaction, the level of responsibility, the level of accountability will require somebody that has had certain level of exposure, either professionally or personally in life. That is why job experience is usually being advertised, So when you see it, it is for you to sit down and do your own proper appraisal, analyze it yourself. I will tell people, if you do a proper job advert analysis, you will know if you qualify for this job. And if you don't score up to 60 to 70% of all the requirements on the job, it is best not to waste your time and the time of the recruiter. Because for every CV that you apply, well, thank God for ATS, people will, at least the ATS will sieve some things away and leave the recruiter with what really meets but where there is no ATS, you are giving the recruiter more job because they will have to go through your CV one by one and you're wasting their time. Tomorrow, if they see your application, they delete it because already they know this person wastes my time. So you can apply if you think you score up to 60 to 70% of other stuff on the JD. But what is more important is to be realistic and sincere to yourself. It does not make sense as a young graduate and you're applying for positions that require 5 to 7 years of experience. It is clearly not marked for a young graduate. But if you see roles that map maybe 1, 2, or 3 years of experience, a fresher can try those positions. It's reasonable, it's a bit logical that within 1 to 3 years is entry-level roles. If you don't have enough years of experience, please target those roles. And if you have more than those years of experience, you may be overqualified for those roles because if you apply, sooner or later, you're going to realize that the motivation will die very fast. So we encourage people, look at the job adverts holistically, not just about the years of experience that is required. Look at it holistically, analyze and appraise yourself. Put yourself in the shoe of the recruiter. If I were to be the recruiter, will I hire myself for this job? Don't be sentimental. Tell yourself the truth. If you analyze it properly, you should be able to know whether to apply or not to apply. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, it does, and there's more clarity to the whole thoughts that people actually have because some people just see it and then like, okay, let me not just even apply. But some people will come and tell you, apply since you have the skills, just apply for it. But hearing from a professional perspective, now you say you have to look at it, go through it, ask yourself or put yourself in the shoes of the recruiter and ask yourself, am I going to hire myself? I do that sometimes, but not all the time, though. I just feel like, okay, if you're not qualified, you're not qualified. Just move on to the next. So I don't know, maybe some youths would also have that thought in their head, as I also do have that thought sometimes whenever I come across stuff like that. I even remember there was a job someone sent to me that, you have to apply. And when I looked at it, I was like, I have zero experience. I don't even know what this is talking about. In fact, I've never heard of this job role. But the person was like, he was so encouraging, like, apply.